Good afternoon. China is very strongly motivated to move as much of their trading and exposure away from the dollar as possible and as quickly as possible. This is a feature from FT, the Financial Times, about how they're doing that in the trade of lithium carbonate, which is a key mineral used in batteries. This is also a model for what will happen soon in other metals also. Here's the headline, and some background is important here. China is by far the biggest buyer of lithium because they are by far the biggest producer of batteries. And China already owns the London Metals Exchange, which is where many of the base metals are traded, including lithium. Plus, they have a very deep relationship with most of the suppliers of lithium around the world. So why is China setting up a new metals exchange when they've already got one in London? Their concern here is that the trades in London are settled in US dollars and the settlement banks are in London. They have an urgency, they've stated so publicly, to move away from the dollar, to get as much away from the risk of having reserves seized, which is possible if those reserves are held in a foreign bank. So let's go through this. China is using the Guangzhou Futures Exchange to offer contracts for lithium carbonate. Within 3 weeks of setting it up, open interest crossed 20,000 contracts. This is how many contracts were bought on the exchange, and it's already heavier volume than in London, Singapore, or in Chicago. CME is the Chicago Mercantile Exchange. The open interest shows how important Guangzhou is going to be because it's a strong signal to lithium suppliers. If you want to sell to the biggest buyer of lithium, which is China, you'll need to do it in Guangzhou. China has the pricing power because they are the buyer. It helps too that Chinese companies in South America and in Africa are supplying a lot of the lithium anyway to be sold here. This also means that the lithium markets for the world will be outside the US dollar. Guangzhou will allow settlement in USD, but also in the Chinese currency. Here are some of the challenges, though, that China faces in this. The first is the currency conversion. The renminbi, the China currency, is not easily convertible to other currencies. However, it will be done in Guangzhou. So the RMB doesn't necessarily need to float or even leave the Chinese banking systems. The global warehousing network is an important issue. Here they reference it again, global warehousing and delivery system. This is an exchange where lithium, in this case, will be bought and sold by global suppliers and industrial users. The one potential problem is always, what happens if the seller cannot deliver on the contract that was agreed to? This is called failure to deliver, or delivery failure, and it does happen sometimes. When it happens, the buyer must be made whole, and the exchange itself is responsible for that. The exchange managers are responsible to be the market of last resort, mentioned here. In the real world, it happens via cash settlements instead of actual delivery of the raw materials, usually anyway. But best practices say that you still need big storage facilities with lots of lithium there, which can make good on any failures to deliver by anyone using the exchange. The Chinese say here that they do have the warehouses and facilities to make the exchanges go, and that those warehouses are outside China, which is necessary too. And we should probably believe them because it's Chinese companies that are most at risk from a delivery failure. A failure will hurt a Chinese company before anyone else. So the Chinese are incentivized here to make sure that the lithium is really there, backing the contracts that are being traded on their exchange. De-dollarization is happening, and it's happening fast. It's happening in sovereign bond markets, which is trillions of dollars. It's happening across commodities markets, which is trillions of dollars. And China is saying to the world right now, if you want us to buy your lithium, you're going to be selling it in Guangzhou. And that's the answer. Lithium producers are going to be settling most of their trades from now on in Guangzhou and not in Singapore. And most definitely not in London or in Chicago. Chongqing coming up next. Be good.
You are the salt of the earth. You are the light of the world. Let your light shine before men, so they see your good works and glorify your Father who is in heaven. Love the Lord your God with all your heart, and all your soul, and all your mind. Love your neighbor